Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. Today we have another Edel Collectibles review for you all, and this time it is the Pachyrhinosaurus. This is the only herbivore in the line so far. There will definitely be more, and I've actually spoken to Edel Collectibles about some of their future figures, and there are definitely more herbivores coming up in the line. But as of right now, this is the only one that I personally have to review, so this is the Pachyrhinosaurus, as I said, and this is an awesome looking ceratopsian figure. Without question, it is just as beautiful as any of the carnivores that we've looked at so far. The paint, I think, is really beautifully done. The sculpt is fantastic. Of course, you've got the articulation, which is another huge selling point of these Edel figures. But you might be wondering just how nice the articulation is on something like this, due to this being a ceratopsian, a herbivore and not a predator. So let's go ahead and get a closer look, and we will take a look at all of these things and answer all of your questions right now. So starting up at the head sculpt, you can see that this is just jam-packed when it comes to sculpt and detail. The big bump of the Pachyrhinosaurus up here on the nose looks great. It's really nicely sculpted. The very bumpy appearance is really beautifully shown throughout the sculpt of the figure. Lots of very nice scaling as you get down here into the face area. Really nice sculpt and detail all around the eye. Look how beautiful that detailing is. The eye is painted with, I believe, just a blackish coloration or a gray. The eye is very small. It's a little tough to see, but it looks really nice. You can see it shining, glisten a little bit there as I turn it. Really nice detailing and sculpt as you lead up into the frill. You can see the ear is present there. And then as we get up into the frill, look how beautiful the scaling is all over up here. Really nice looking all over the place. You can also see just how nicely sculpted out all the horns are, and the incredible detail and sculpt that is included in those as well. And you can see that brought out really nice with variations of browns. They clearly have a nice wash that's been included as well to really help make the area up there as far as the minute detailing of the horns pop out at you. You can see there's kind of like a light brown wash throughout, kind of showing you all the cracks and crevices throughout the horns. That is a very nice paint application that they've done there. I really think it was honestly the perfect choice and meshes so well when it comes to the rest of the coloration of the animal. You can see also that it's got this really nice striping with like a reddish brown, almost like a raw sienna type color, and it's really nice. Very flashy looking appearance, but it's extremely natural. It's nothing overly bright, overly flashy, nothing that I could not see on a ceratopsian for sure. So they did a great job on the overall paint scheme of the frill. I think when it comes to ceratopsians, that's always one of my hardest things to figure out, is just how to make the design of the frill but have it look natural, look like something that it would really have. And Edel nailed it overall, I think, for sure, when it comes to the coloration of that area. You can also see the beak is really nicely sculpted. You can get a sense of the cracks and crevices throughout as I turn it a little bit there for you to see. Definitely really nicely sculpted. It is just a blackish coloration. The jaw, of course, is articulated, and even though the mouth is pretty small, you can see the tongue is painted in there with a nice pinkish coloration, a very realistic coloration. Can't really see too much up there on the upper part of the mouth, but you can kind of get in there a little bit and take note to what's in there. Definitely looks very nice, and of course the jaw articulation works wonderfully as well. The coloration in general of the head, but not just up here on the frill, is really nice. You can see like a light, almost like a yellowish brown there, and a few different variations of like an orangish brown, and again just other browns and stuff included. And then it transitions really naturally to this light underbelly here, that linen type of a color that it does have for the underside. If we look back here at the back of the frill, you can see some very nice scaling and everything back there as well. Beautiful sculpt and detail here in the neck. Really nice looking. It has that very large animal feel when it comes to the overall body texture, especially right in this general vicinity. Really nice shoulder blades there protruding from the skin a little bit there. You can see the beautiful scaling all over right here. It's really nicely shining off of the light at this angle that I have it at here. And then you move down into the front legs, really nice muscle tone right there. Beautifully sculpted feet. You can see the nails are all painted and everything really quite nicely. They also have a bit of a shine to make them look quite realistic as far as the gloss coat on them goes. Some nice skin folding down here. And again, you can see the really nice sculpt work as far as the scales go. It's definitely a very well fed Pachyrhinosaurus. You can see some significant girth in the stomach region, so it looks really healthy. You can see the spinal column of the animal right there as you run down the back, and that incredibly nice scaling really looks beautiful all over the place. Very nice large muscle tone here in the thigh of the rear leg, also in the calf. You can see some skin wrinkling here in the rear of the knee. Rear foot also looks really nice, beautifully painted nails there as well. Overall, it's got a nice dark wash everywhere pretty much to help bring out the detail and sculpt really nicely. As you come up here behind the leg into the tail, you can see some more skin folding going on there, and that really nice scaling runs out the length of the tail all the way out to that really nice tip of the tail there. Both sides, again, just like I said in the other Edel collectible reviews, both sides look pretty much the same due to this being in a completely neutral position, so that you can be the one that decides how exactly you pose it. The only difference is you can see that the front legs are in a slightly different position, so they are ever so slightly. I believe the rear legs are in just about the same spot, but maybe again slightly different, but nothing major overall. Other than that though, honestly, the sculpt and detail should be very similar. You can see everywhere that we look at it, it looks amazing. I think the skin folding here in the stomach region of this side is a little bit different than what you saw on the other side, so that is really cool to see a little bit of difference. You can also kind of see the skin pulling right there off of the front leg, which is pretty cool to see as well. So some nice movement shown in the dinosaur. Really beautiful looking Pachyrhinosaurus overall. I think the paint apps are incredibly well done also. It's all very natural looking, nice dark coloration like I would expect to find on a ceratopsian, but they've kind of snuck in some light, almost like flashy type of coloring with those yellowish browns and stuff. So they've kind of hit this perfectly in my opinion as far as the coloration goes. So let's go ahead and check out the articulation of their herbivore now. So we've of course got the articulated jaw, which works perfectly, and then you've got the articulation of the neck. So you've got one joint right here, but then you've also got another very large joint right there, which allows you to put the neck down so that now it's feeding, or it can also be put up so it's feeding up a little bit. My joint is a little stiff as I haven't moved it around too much yet to really break it in, but it definitely works quite smoothly overall. So you've got some nice articulation there in the neck. You've also got articulation here in the legs, so you've got forward and back here. Again, these joints are very stiff. I haven't moved them around too much yet. And forward and back in the rear leg. And then you've of course got articulation in the tail here as well. So it moves sideways and then up and down a little bit. Really beautiful articulation, honestly, for a ceratopsian. I don't think you could really ask for too much more than that. And I think they did a great job of making all of the articulation look really natural no matter which way you position it in. I think it looks really beautiful, pretty much exactly as you would expect it to look. So let's go ahead and get a size now on the Pachyrhinosaurus, because it is one of the smallest figures of the line so far, of course. So for a length from the snout there to the tail, you're looking at about 8 3/4 inches, or about 22.5 centimeters. And then for a height, the highest point is going to be the frill here, and you're looking at about 3.5 inches roughly, or about 8.5, more like 9 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, and you can see now that these actually scale quite well to each other. Again, the Pachyrhinosaurus is in 1/35th scale, so they should all scale pretty well to one another. And again, I believe the Papo Rex is roughly 1/35th scale or somewhere close, but if he's not, we will go ahead and bring in the MV Rex, which is now taking a bite out of the Pachyrhinosaurus's face, and you can now definitely get an idea of how these size up against each other really beautifully, honestly, and it can make such an incredibly cool scene, something that you could do as far as displaying them here with each other, maybe the battle of the century with the Tyrannosaurus Rex and a Pachyrhinosaurus. It looks fantastic with these figures together, and again, you should get an idea of how they scale up with each other right here. So some people might not be as excited about this poor herbivore here as they are about all the incredibly nice carnivores, but me personally, I think that without question, this Pachyrhinosaurus is one of my favorites of the bunch, honestly. It is really, really nice looking, really beautifully sculpted. All the detail is just really well done. Every single spot that I look, it looks fantastic. I am a huge fan of how they painted the horns up on the frill. I think it all looks really natural, and they did a good job with the light brown wash that they've included to help bring out all the cracks and crevices in the horns, showing you just how much sculpt work is included, but just how good of a job they've done on it. They've also included a gloss coat sort of on the horns to make them shine a bit, and I think that was also a really nice touch and definitely helps to add a bit of realism to the figure overall. The sculpt, as far as the scaling goes, looks great everywhere on it. It looks really nice as far as the scaling. It looks like very large animal scales. The face sculpt in general, as far as that big Pachyrhinosaurus hump on the nose, looks great. A really nice bumpy texture all over it, exactly what you would expect to see on a Pachrhinosaurus, and the coloration of this figure is really, really well done. Again, I think ceratopsians sometimes are some of the hardest figures to really come up with a paint scheme for, because you want them to look sort of flashy in the frill area, but you also want it to look really natural, and I think that Edel totally nailed it without question when it comes to pulling that off, that exact sentiment with their coloration here. They did a good job of adding in some somewhat brighter colors like the reddish browns and stuff on the face, and almost like a mixture of some oranges and everything to make the head really flashy, but it's kind of like darker tones of it, so that helps to make it look really natural as well. There's just a ton of paint variation included on the head. Even in the horns, there's just numerous different variations of colors, so everything looks really, really good as far as their skin tone goes too, making it look extremely realistic when it comes to that. But again, the paint is so beautifully applied, like the body in general is a nice variation of light and dark browns, something I could definitely see a ceratopsian being in real life, but again, the head looking somewhat flashier, but in a very nice dark tone. It just all looks perfect. It's pretty much the perfect paint scheme for a ceratopsian in my eyes, exactly the way I would want to paint a ceratopsian myself if I were painting it to look like it were actually alive. So Edel has nailed it when it comes to this figure as well. This is 3 for 3 when it comes to these Edel collectible reviews now on my channel. Each and every one so far has been fantastic and easily some of my favorite figures that are in my collection. That is definitely for sure. So if you are interested in picking up this incredible Edel Collectibles Pachyrhinosaurus, make sure you head over to their Kickstarter right now and start funding some of the figures that are currently available on there to back, because if we don't get those figures funded, we won't ever get any Edel Collectibles figures, and that would be an absolute travesty. I do believe this Pachyrhinosaurus is one of the stretch goals, but we have to work on getting the Rex figures and the Velociraptors funded first, so let's get to the Kickstarter. I will include a link in the description for you to go ahead and do just that, so check the description, head over to the Edel Collectibles Kickstarter and fund some figures and help back this incredible Edel Collectibles project. But before you do that, don't forget to please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.